Melanie Farr, you're very much into benchmarking. What's involved with your benchmarking program?
The program's called Production Wise, and FAR set that going for the farmers to keep records of all their crop growing down to the gross margin stage, so we can record the yield, income, less expenses comes to the gross margin, and then the benchmarking is the average of all the gross margins for farmers in a region, so they can compare themselves to that average. And we are asked time and time again, how much does it cost to grow different crops in different regions, and there is nowhere else that does it. So FAR are trying to do this to help the farmers to help themselves, in effect.
What's the process if somebody wants to go into your benchmarking program?
They have to be a FAR levy payer. So that FAR is owned by farmers, and we collect the levy obviously on the sale of the crops. They register on the programme and they enter the mapping and start entering all their inputs and fertilisers and sprays and tractor movements and all the costs, and basically that's how it goes.
Basically, to use your terminology, that's what they should be doing anyway.
Well, they should record now for farm environment plans. The basis of that is a map and to keep records to back it up. And also with overseer and the nutrient modelling, again, backing up that is keeping records. The key to that is keeping records. So suddenly their whole life is they've got to record it, and the gross margin side of it is still recording it, but they're just putting a cost to it. So they're doing everything for all the other things, but there's a cost of each, input or fertiliser, so they can manage it.
I guess there's a lot of farming people who've had their eyes opened because they've not thought about how much they put on, how much the cost was and all that sort of thing, and suddenly you go, gee, the gross margin's not great on that crop.
Yeah, well, we've been pulling off some benchmarking for the last harvest, 15-16, just to see if we can help the farmers and get the FAR heads around to see what's going on. And it's quite interesting that some of the gross margins are 50% of the income. So it's not all about the yield, it's a lot about the costs where they're going to make money. And we're also dividing it to the cost of production. That's dividing everything into the tonnes or kilos per hectare. But one of the things we did look at with the benchmarking was dollars per hectare per day. And if you think of cereal crops that are in the ground, autumn cereal crops for 345 days, say, and a spring cereal crop is in the ground for, say, 150 days, the gross margin difference, the spring crop makes $2 per hectare per day more than the autumn. And you've also got 195 days more to do another crop with. So we've only thought about that when we've been looking at the benchmarking figures. And obviously it's very hard to talk to you about the nitty-gritties of the figures, but
I mean, even
good.
that sort of $2 a day per hectare is very worth having.
Yeah, and the establishment cost is another key that came out. Obviously spring crops cost more to establish because they've got to get rid of the churning up of the soil maybe when they've overwintered animals. So we're just looking to see if we can help the farmers in any way, trying to save all their costs on things.
I guess to a degree you're probably catching up with the dairy industry who, they are so focused on expenses versus returns. You're catching up with them, but in your own way.
Yes, basically to help farmers think of other markets for their crops. This time we've been asked to help farmers and advisors. What crops should we grow? What are the gross margins on them? And there has been nowhere that's done it. So that's why we're doing the benchmarking, to be able to say, well, actually, if you want to grow peas or cereals, this is what you can expect. And this year is the first year that we helped Lincoln University with their financial budget manual. We put all the gross margins together for them, not from the benchmarking from FAR, but we set up a generic gross margin so that the students can work with it. So we're trying to help them with the education as well.
Good on you. What else is new?
Well, data entry is key. So we've made changes with the app, and made it quicker for farmers to put the information in when they're out in the paddock doing it. They can, which is very interesting, if they're going along and doing an observation with their agronomist, they can now take a picture with their mobile phone and upload that to the observation with the GPS coordinates. So that would help biosecurity if they've got problems with, you hear every day of the velvet leaf and other things that are going along. If they've got it on their farm, they can now know where it is, so next time round they can go and look for it. So that's the app side of it. The key thing we've got with the reporting is the overseer. Again, this is a compliance tool that farmers have to do, which is recording your nutrients. And the overseer report pulls everything out of the programme that is required for the overseer module. So the farmers ring up and say, oh, which bit shall I pull out from the reporting? So we've built it for them so they don't have to worry. They just click a button and it pulls the history of the crop for the last 4 years, what they've put on that crop, the yield, the cultivations, the fertilisers, the grazing of animals, because it needs to know the grazing, what type, and the soil and the irrigation. So it's everything they've
Everything
recorded.
is there. A push of one button.
Yeah.
Melody,
Yeah.
thank you so much indeed.